Hello, everybody. How are you all doing? And welcome to the Pink Table Talk. I am your host, Loria Reed, and we are back with another great episode of Topics for Us by Us Ladies. And I'm so glad that you tuned in to be with us today. So, do me a favor, go ahead on and begin liking and sharing our Pink Table Talk today. We will be talking about today the breakup and how to move on. I know it's kind of a topic we hit and miss sometimes, but we don't ever talk about how to get through those things, how to navigate, because it is a tough time for some ladies who may be going through divorce, maybe going through grief, whatever the situation may be. We're going to talk about that today and how to move forward. So go ahead. I know you got a girlfriend that's been blowing your phone up because she's going through a tough time after a breakup. Let her know that we're on and that we're talking to her today. So we've got three great guests that I can't wait for you all to see. Three ladies who I believe will shed some great light on this subject today. Our first guest, she is a nurse for Piedmont Hospital. She's been in my small group for a while. We bonded, just a great woman. Enjoy her company. I've never seen someone so excited about seeing a pregnant woman because she works in labor and delivery. She's just awesome. She was married for 17 years, has three children, and her ministry is speaking to women about moving forward after divorce. So we are so glad to have her. Would you all welcome Miss Yvonne Shelley? Hello, Miss Yvonne.
Hi, how's everyone? Thank you for
Good.
having me today.
So glad you're with us, lady. Looking good as always. Our next guest, she's my home girl. She's from Greenville, Mississippi, y'all. You know, I love people from Mississippi. They just so down to earth and cool. But she's lived here in Atlanta for the past 8 years. She works in the Department of Transportation here in Georgia, has one son who's an adult. She's just awesome. She is over our singles ministry at the House of Hope Atlanta and has just done an extraordinary job with that. We're so glad to have her with us today. Would you all please welcome Miss Kimberly Grayson? Hey, Miss Kim.
Hello. How's everyone?
Good, good, good. So glad to have you. And she's back with us again, you guys. Look, we've got our own therapist, as I like to say, that's with us, and she's going to be talking to us about everything and giving us some wisdom in how to move forward. She's our pastor of women. She does our counseling for our marital as well as personal at the church, and we're so glad to have her. Would you all please welcome Pastor Sharice Cross? I said Cross.
Hey everybody, good to be here.
Glad that you're with us. All right. So, y'all, my light just went out, but we're going to move forward with it anyway. Things happen all the time. But I'm so glad to have the three of you all. I believe that you guys really exhibit what we want to talk about today, especially with our small groups. Yvonne and Kim, you guys give so much wisdom in our classes, and I really want everyone to hear that, as well as Pastor Carl. She's always shedding the light when it comes to everything and every subject. She helps us out with that. So I want to start with Yvonne. I know even in your bio that you sent us that you enjoyed navigating with women who may be trying to move forward, moving through divorce. So my thing for you, and we're just going to kind of talk candidly about it, when you made the decision that you were going to move on, and I know you have three children, what were your
Mhm.
feelings? Did you when you first made the decision, were you just swamped with the kids? Were you just acted as if nothing was happening? Were you in a state of grief? What were your feelings initially at that time?
Well, at that time, I was in a state of grief.
Hmm.
Divorce is a grieving process. Um, but, when you're going through that process, you still have to know how to keep it moving.
Mm.
Pastor talks about to us all the time about keeping it moving. So you don't pretend like things are not happening. But especially when you have kids, you still have to keep going. You gotta really grieve and move on at the same time, because
Mm.
these little kids are looking in your face, and when you're broken, they're broken. So for me, um, I just had to learn how to deal with what I was going through, and yet still move forward with my kids. So I just
Mm,
made a conscious decision to, just keep it moving. And I think that that's what happens in our lives. Things are going to happen, but God wants us to keep moving, and He wants us to trust Him and trust our process.
wow. That's a good thing. And I know, Kim, even with us being, and we'll be frank, with us being single women, if you're dating, things may not go according to plan, and you may have all these high hopes and dreams, and oh, this guy might be it, or and then the disappointment comes from it. So, with that being said, Kim, how have you experienced moving forward from a breakup, and what are your feelings on that?
Well, first thing is, anytime you have a breakup, it's hurtful whether you chose to do the breaking up or someone broke up with you. And
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult, it's more difficult when you didn't want to end the relationship, when you were the one that did not want to end the relationship, or and also when you're blindsided, because sometimes relationships end and we didn't expect it to end, and it seems like it came out of nowhere. But
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult. The first thing I've learned to do is I have to take an inventory of myself, because I'm the one
Right.
in each one of those relationships, and I have to see
Exactly.
what I could have done better, or things I should not have done. Because a lot of times hindsight is 2020. And then I have to make sure that not to do those things again. Because sometimes we can repeat our same mistakes when we go into relationships and we don't understand why they don't work out. But first, like I said, I have to do an inventory of myself. And then
Right.
I started off I try to make myself busy so that I don't have too much time to grieve. I do want to grieve, but I don't want to spend my days drowning in sorrow. So I try not to spend all day doing it, because you want to look back and you want to grieve, but you don't want to spend days and days. And then I try to do things to because I live alone, so I'll start trying to get out with friends and hang out for a little while. And I will talk to friends about it, or not ashamed to say, or my therapist about it, to keep,
Mm-hmm.
because different people need different things to move on, and some breakups are harder than others. And so
Right.
sometimes you just have to figure each breakup out.
Mm.
And with that being said, I'm glad that you brought that up, Kim, about you didn't want to spend that much time grieving, but you don't want to be in the hole, but then at the same time you don't want to ignore it, as Yvonne talked about. So, Pastor Cross, with your with your expertise in counseling, what is how should I say this? What is the proper way to go through a breakup? Because you don't want to become so depressed, but you want to grieve because grief is a part of the process. So, what is a healthy way of moving forward?
Yeah, so what I love is you have two different stories, two different people, and actually we're all
Mhm.
different on this call, right? So we
Mhm.
all experience breakups differently. We all experience them differently. Even grief looks different for all of us. And that
Mhm.
process will look different for all of us. And so Yvonne talked about how she was grieving, but yet still having to move forward with her children. And so even though the external, there was a breakup, it's still internal work to do with any of us. So that internal work she had to do, as well as still continue on with the byproduct, if you will, from that marriage, right? So
Right.
she still got children from that person. So they're still connected in a way, and they're going to be connected
Mhm.
throughout their life. So there was a shifting in their roles, and probably still working on that and what that looks
Mhm.
like, right? And so
Mhm.
that's a process. But also Kim saying, "Hey, I want to grieve, but I don't want to go spend every day crying about this dude." But we have to get
Right.
through. But we have to still get through. So I
Mhm.
remember, well, it's a long, long time ago, y'all. Yeah, I had a boyfriend. I cried like a baby. But one thing my cousin told me, and it's blessed me to this day, is to, and I caught him cheating. I caught him cheating, y'all. He was cheating on your girl. I said, what? So, and I went to, it's when I was in the Navy. That's one of my old Navy. Let me tell you one of my sailor stories. So he was cheating on me, and it broke my heart. It really broke my heart. And I moved to another station. I was going to be stationed somewhere else, so I left and went to another duty station. And so I really didn't have it. It was still unresolved for me, Kim. And I was like
Mm.
just going through in another state. I was in Washington State, and it was dreary there. It rained all the time, and I was crying all the time. And my cousin, she's 10 years older than me, she said, you need to write him and tell him how you feel and how you felt about that. And I was like, 20, I had to be about 18. No, I was 19, 20. I was about 20 years old, 20 years old. And that was the best thing I could have done. She said, don't look for a response, is what she told me. You write
Mhm.
what you feel and how he made you feel, and then ask for forgiveness. And I said, now the devil is a liar. Now, why do I need to ask for forgiveness? So I wouldn't even have, I was halfway saved, y'all. Back then, I was halfway
Uh-huh.
saved.
Right.
So I didn't want to use those words. I wanted to cuss them. That's what I wanted to do back in the day. Back in the day.
Uh,
So, but I wrote the letter and I expressed how I felt. And do you know that was such a relief? It was a relief for me. And I use it to this day because it's not about the other. See, forgiveness we think is about the other person, but it's about us.
Yeah.
It's about us releasing that person because what I'm doing is I'm holding your penalty against you when Christ hasn't held his penalty against us, right?
Mhm.
We can't hold
that's
it against
right.
other people. And that's what she was trying to teach me way back then. And I was able to do that though, release that. And he actually wrote back. He actually wrote back. And it became easier for me to heal from that. But there still was a grieving process after that. I still longed for him. I still missed him. I was angry. I went through all of those stages that we experience when when we have a loss. And I allowed
Yeah.
myself that time. I didn't date anybody. I wasn't trying to look for nobody, but I met my husband. Come on, y'all. But I
Mm.
wasn't looking for nobody. I did not want to date. I just wanted to know about me, and like you said, what is going on? Because I was a factor in there. So what was my
Right.
part in this? Because oftentimes we
Yes.
can look at the breakup and say him, him, him. What was
Uh-huh.
my part? What did I open that I should not have? What did I open up that I shouldn't have opened up? What was I looking for that I shouldn't have been looking for? And so those
Mm-mm.
were some things that I learned back then. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think that's one of the things that Steve Harvey talked about. As I was going through my divorce, I was watching the Steve Harvey show, and he said
Mm-hmm.
the difference between men and women is for us, we need closure.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
know, when we go through any kind of breakup, he said men don't need closure. They can be done with you today and move on tomorrow. But for women, we need closure with our
Yes.
situations. And for me, fortunate enough, I got closure. I got a chance to, still talk to my ex-husband and still figure things out, and we'll talk about it. And um one thing that I think that we did great was we didn't let our situation affect our children. Now we were on the
Mm-hmm.
same page with that, because,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to realize we were divorcing, he wasn't divorcing the children.
So good.
Correct.
So that was a whole different dynamic. And I thank God because, initially I wasn't on that track. I was like, I'm done with you. But God said, no, you can't be done with him because you have three children
Mm-hmm.
with him.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
right.
as you said, Pastor Cross, it's a relationship that you will have forever, whether you want to or not.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
will have that relationship with that person. So for me, I just chose to not be bitter, to just deal with it. Like you said, I had to realize my faults in the relationship, and hey, it didn't work. So let's just move forward.
Yeah.
But
And you
Speaking of closure, sometimes you have to move on even when you don't get closure because you don't always get closure when you end a relationship. So you have to figure out how to move on when there is no closure because sometimes, and then you have to figure out what closure look like to you. I've learned to have
Mhm.
closure without the other person being involved in my closure. And it was a therapist a long time ago that kind of told me the same thing that Sharice cousin told her. She said, write him a letter, but don't mail it. But write down all
Mhm.
your feelings and everything that you feel like went wrong in their relationship, and keep it and read it a couple of times. And then when you feel like she was like, and after you read it, tear it up and throw it away, and that's your closure. And she was like, don't keep the letter for 2 months now. But she was like, write it down, write a letter to him, and tell him everything that you felt. And then when you're done, throw it away. That's going to have to be your closure because he's not going to give you any.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely.
that closure is a iffy thing.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And you're so right. So even if, so we can consider it like if there was a death and you had
Right.
some
Right.
unresolved issues with someone who died, we would ask you to do the same thing. You can sit a chair across from you and have that conversation that you didn't get to have before that person left. Or nowadays, what they doing, they ghosting people. So we ghosting people
Right.
now, right?
Yeah.
So if
Yep.
someone ghosts you, go ahead and have that conversation and move on
Mhm.
because you are
Mhm.
still valuable. You were valuable before and you're going to be valuable after.
That's
So
right.
the Lord's already made you fearfully and wonderfully made with or without that person. But it's
Right.
reconciling that attachment that you had with that person. So definitely,
Right.
you're absolutely right, Kim. You have to close any way you have to, especially in this ghost generation that we're dealing with right now, where folks is ghosting people.
Yeah.
I mean, left and right. I hear about that all the time. I didn't think that that was a real thing, but it really
Yeah.
is because, people don't want the confrontation. And I know
Yes.
women who ghost guys and guys who ghost
Yeah.
women. It's just like, I don't want to have that.
Look at
You don't
really,
ghost
Kim.
nobody, do you?
Really.
I have
Seriously?
before it was a thing though. This was back before I was really saved. Before they even called it ghosting, I've done somebody like that.
Hmm.
But that was a long
Look
time
at
ago.
you. Well, I want to talk about this really quickly while I had the two of you guys here, well, the three of you here, the forgiveness. And Pastor Cross, you touched on it as well as you, Yvonne. The forgiveness and not becoming bitter or not saying, you know what, relationships aren't for me. I'm not a person that's supposed to be married ever in life. And we can just go down that road after you've been hurt. But I want to ask Yvonne and kind of go around. What did you do? I know when you talk so freely about your relationship, which lets me know that you have really healed in a lot of places with it. How did you forgive and how did you release yourself as well as him from it? Because sometimes, and I'm going to say this as well, sometimes as ladies, we'll hold on and he'll be moved on, married somebody else, gone on with his life. And we still holding on, like, look at what you did to me. And he's moved on. So, what did you do, Yvonne? Some steps that you took, or did you read a scripture? Was it something that you heard that assisted you with not being bitter but to forgive and to move forward?
Well, um, initially, before I even knew anything about the divorce, God spoke to me and said that I was going to be okay.
Mm.
That's before I even knew anything was going on. And um, throughout the whole process, I was okay. So God was with me from the very beginning. And so that's comforting just in itself that,
Mm-hmm.
He could say, you're getting ready to go through something, but I'm with you. And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't, in your uh, carnal mind, it doesn't, you still have to go through it, but it's better because you know that God is in control of this. He's gonna work it to my good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, of course, we had some rocky times in trying to, deal with, the many aspects of the divorce. But, I just remember one Sunday at church, and Pastor was preaching about forgiveness, and he was just, basically saying, we have to let things go. We have to,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, we have to go through the process of things, and we don't always understand what or why we're going through what we're going through, but trust the process of it. And, I just decided at that Sunday that I was not going to fuss about a whole lot of stuff. Um,
Mm.
that, once I went in that courtroom, I said, God, I need three things in order for me to deal with this situation. I need you because I can't do anything without you. I need my children, need them to be okay to deal with this process. And I need my job because I have to be able to take care of us. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
and if I have those three things, then I'm going to be okay. And I was okay. I was okay. So, it was very difficult. I don't want to make light of it. It was very, it was just a difficult process to go through. But,
Mm-hmm.
God said that He was there from the beginning, and He was. And so we made it through. We all made it through. Even him. We all made it through.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I just think it's so beautiful when you talk about your ex-husband. You're like, yeah, and then their dad, and she'll talk to us in our small group about her children, and it's like he's just a part of the family, and it's never any ill intent or and then my ex and da da da. It's never like that, and I believe that that's just so beautiful in the way that God would have it to be, because the forgiveness is there, and it's a forgiving process, so to speak.
Hmm.
So, what about you, Miss Kim? How do you remain from being bitter, unforgiving, and all of those things?
Well, what I've learned about forgiveness, and that's, whether you're ending a relationship or somebody has wronged you, that you were in a romantic relationship, don't forgive every time you think about it. There's a that pain comes back. If you have to have a conversation about it, or you even think about it, it comes back. So I had to learn to just let it go and be okay with whatever happened. Even if they are not sorry that they wronged me, I have to know that God will take care of it. And
Mm-hmm.
I just have to, and then I have to take accountability for whatever I did, because I have learned that we play a role in everything in our lives, good, bad,
We
or ugly.
do.
And
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes when people wrong us, we played some part in it. It may have been a small part, but because it's a part of our life, we played a part in it. So I have to, I know I start off usually acknowledging my part in what happened. And then I'm usually just like, I forgive you. Now, I may not trust you, but I can forgive you and move on. But me not trusting you means that you're not allowed back into the same space. I can
Mm-hmm.
create a different space where we can be cordial to each other, but I can't allow you
Right.
back in the same space.
I understand that. And Pastor Cross, what would you say? And I kind of want you to talk about two things that we keep saying, which is the forgiveness piece and then owning up to our role in the relationship, because I think sometimes we forget it is two of us
Yes.
in a relationship. It is not just one person where we can just say, you know what, and he and he and he, and then we end up bringing all these parties into it because we're so upset and and then you have people mad at him for stuff that you didn't say, but you're not telling the whole story because it's two sides, right? So I want you
Absolutely.
to talk about being healthy and owning up to your role and the forgiveness part of it.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about just if someone, I'm thinking about a few things. If someone is if you catch somebody cheating, let's just put that out there. You catch somebody cheating, you did not cause that person to cheat. Okay, they made that decision. Now
Right.
your relationship though, and how you have been in your relationship, that's a whole nother thing. And that's what I deal with couples with if there's that situation, because that is a symptom of what's going on. It may be a symptom for that person or a symptom in that relationship, but you did not cause that person to cheat. But it
Right.
is a symptom of something is going on, either with that person or the relationship. And we got to differentiate between the two. So, in order to forgive, I think we need to understand the genesis. Like, how did we get here? How did we get here? And that's where Kim was talking about. I do some self evaluation, and Yvonne talked about the same thing. Like you, we have to start with us first, but we're not blaming ourselves for
Right.
somebody cheating on us. I just want to put that out there. We don't do that. No, if you and that's natural though. Some women, why did it? Maybe I wasn't pretty enough. Maybe I did this. Maybe no. That person made that decision. So, but let's talk about how did we get here in this relationship where we don't have an open communication, where there's not trust, where there may be feelings that we can't share with one another. How did we get there is the question. And even backing up even further, when it comes to the marriage and we're making this covenant with this person, when you say you want to marry this person, who are you actually marrying? Are you marrying the image of that person, of who you think that person is supposed to be? Are
Mhm.
you marrying, are you an image of who you think you're supposed to be for your parents or for your friends? Or, who are you even in that marriage? Or are you just marrying this person because the Bible says we got to get married, so we got to get married? What did you really come into this relationship with, and what was your
Right.
reasoning for doing that? And then how are you moving through this relationship? So, do y'all talk about everything, or is there things that we just bury under the rug? And even now, it's a great time to start looking at relationships, and people have been. Like, we're all quarantined, we're locked in our houses, so things are coming up, right? Things are coming
Mhm.
up, and everybody looking like, what your breath smell? I'm just tired of your breath always been smelling for years, and whatever it is, just what, I'm just tired of this. Whatever it's coming up, and I'm telling people I'm excited that right now you feel like, what, I need to deal with this. I don't like this about you, or I don't like this about us. It's a great time. God has slowed us
Mhm.
all down so we can stop and reflect. And some of us need to make our houses our homes, because
That's
all
right.
they've been is a place we go sleep at night and then run back out and go make all, do all these jobs, or working or doing everything else, but we're not making our house our home. We're
Right.
talking at each other. We're not having those conversations like we need to have, or we only talk when
Mhm.
we go on vacation. No, we should be able to talk all the time, not just on the vacations.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
asking all of those questions about how we got here is important, so that we don't become bitter. Even if someone does you wrong, okay, what is going on with that person? And that takes a while, y'all. It don't be
Yeah.
like, what, oh, they have some problems or they've had some trauma. I need to know. That takes a while. Forgiveness is a process, and y'all both said it, and it. It's a process. It's not,
Yeah.
you may get a hey the first time, and then I may be able to say hi, and I may be able to get to a hello. And then you may be able, it takes a while. It's just not like, hey,
Yeah.
we back, and no. So it's a process to come back into that. Even if we do decide to rekindle or re-promise or reconnect, that's also a that's also a process, because there's whole
Mhm.
systems that have been created in this relationship. So if it was a
Right.
marital relationships, you got families invested in this as well. There's
Mhm.
friends invested in it. So you've lost not only a relationship with this person, you've lost family, friends. Some people went to the same church. You don't have
Mhm.
your church structure. It shifts. Friendship.
Yeah.
Everybody start
Mhm.
acting funny with you. All of those things come up. Finances, financial
Yeah.
loss. there's so many layers to that. And so working each one of those out is going back to the beginning. Like, how did we deal with finances? You know,
Right.
was I forthright? Was he forthright? Or, was he using money for power? Was I accepting the money as power? How was money used in our relationship? So there's so many areas that we could look at versus blaming, but actually looking at the process of how we got to where we are.
Right.
And definitely, there are some men who have trauma or who have issues, and they will connect with you. And some of us like to fix men, and we can't. We guess what? We're not mechanic. Men are not
Oh, yeah.
cars. We're not
That's
mechanics.
right.
You
That's
can't
right.
fix nobody. That's not what you're.
No.
So did I get in that relationship to think I could fix him? Or he could fix me?
Right.
Because my last man, he said I wasn't this, and so you say I'm this, so now I believe I'm this because you said I am. Well, if he said you are, and then he breaks up with you, then what?
Right.
So there's
So my oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, because I'll keep going.
I
I
was
will.
gonna say I was gonna say with you saying that, well, how soon is too soon to get into another relationship? That's my question next because we have some people as soon as they sign on the dotted line, they engaged and they get married the next day, or they moved on to the next person. And I feel like even being a single woman, sometimes we get men who are not healed from previous
Yeah,
relationships, and they're like,
Yeah.
their relationship ended so long ago, even we were still together, but they're still not ready to date. So what do you all do? And I'll just ask all three of you from a
yeah.
professional standpoint, Pastor Cross, Yvonne, and Kim, your experiences with how soon is too soon to move forward? Or is there a time limit that you do? Or is it just a feeling you get where you've forgiven? What do you do after the breakup is happening as far as moving forward with another relationship?
Well,
Well,
I'll
for
say,
me, it's to kind of wait because, and I just chose to wait. I chose to wait because, I didn't want to. I'm a mother hen, so I didn't want to bring any drama or trauma to my children. I was just like, no, if I do, I was open to having a relationship with, and having the kids, but it had to definitely look a certain way.
hmm
And I didn't get that relationship. And so I
hmm
just took the time to work on myself, took the time to deal with myself, took the time to do what I needed to do to raise three beautiful children. Um, and so, of course, I was open to it, but it didn't happen. And I said, well, God, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to have to be okay with that. So, what is it that
Mm-hmm.
you want me to do during this time of waiting? And so that's what I did. Just try to work on myself.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Kim?
well, for me, it depends on how long the relationship. If it's a relationship that ended, okay, let's say the last 6 months of the relationship, I didn't want to be in it. So it ended because
6 months?
I didn't mean to say it like that. I mean, a relationship that I was ready to end, ready for it to end. In a situation like that, after the relationship actually ended, I probably waited at least about 6 months. But a situation that ended and it affected me emotionally more than something then I think I've probably the least amount of time I've waited. I think one relationship ended, I waited about 6 months. And then one, it took me about a year and a half. And not
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't moving on from that situation. I had to decide what I wanted a relationship to be in the net, and so that I would know what I could say yes to and what I needed to say no to. I
Right.
had to decide what I
Right.
wanted it to be and what I wanted it to look like.
Mm-hmm. Because I think sometimes, and Erica Badu said it best, the bag lady.
Yes,
Mhm.
Lord.
We keep accumulating stuff and keep accumulating, and then bringing it, and then they could flip the switch the wrong way, and you like, what are you doing? See, I didn't. Da, 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 da. It's like, what? I just turned the light on. Well, my ex used to do the same thing to me, and because we haven't healed from that. So, look, that was
Yeah.
my 2 cents. Pastor Cross, what do you say?
That's good.
What is
That's
a
so
healthy
good.
way to move on from
Yeah,
that?
it's
From
so
relationship?
so good. I like what Yvonne and Kim said. It's really in no time frame. Of course, like right after you, if you're if you're dating and you already got the next person, you told me don't say that other word, so I'm not gonna say it. I almost said it. But if you're dating and you already have the next person ready, no, that's not you're not ready. But I like what Kim said is that I had to figure out what is it that I want, what is it that I need, and what don't I need. Uh, Possibly, what are some boundaries that I did not have that I need to have now, right? And
Mhm.
so, and even just healing, like it takes time to heal. Uh, uh, Devon mentioned that's a whole structure, it's a whole system being married because you're not just marrying that person, you marry the whole family, they marry your whole family, you have children. Also, what does that look like for them? And not
Mhm.
making them a part of your healing process is you have to make sure you're doing that as well. So bringing them into a new relationship, it has to you have to take time and wait for that, be sensitive to that. And I love the fact that she's like, no, I'm trying to make sure we're good before I bring in someone else to this. So that's important, especially if you have children. If you don't, though, you still need to just understand more about you. Take that time to learn more about you, to heal, and not to bring that in because what's gonna happen is those unmet expectations that were in that previous relationship, you're going to expect them for the next person. And you may do that
Mhm.
unconsciously. So make sure that you can bring that from your unconscious to your conscious and you can verbalize it so that you can speak that to that next person as well. And make sure those are needs that they need to meet and not needs that you need to have met by yourself or by the Lord because that
Mhm.
man is, we want to say they are all in all, but the Lord is truly our all in all first. And some needs need to be met by the Lord. And then sometimes we have friends, we have homegirls. You want him to be your BFF, he's your BFF, but he don't want to talk to you all day long. He don't.
Yeah.
That's what you got friends. So don't make him into that either. So just making sure you understanding what it is you need, making sure that you take time to heal though before going into that next relationship and jump. But if you're jumping into it like right after, that's an attachment issue that I'm going to
Mhm.
ask that you come see me or see somebody. Go see somebody. And there's nothing wrong with therapy. That's the in the African American community, we have stigmatized therapy, but our
Mhm.
counterparts go to therapy for everything. I'm a
Yeah.
therapist. I would even posit to say if your therapist don't have a therapist, don't see that therapist because everyone should be going to therapy. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is a loss. And if there's something in your life that continues to happen, a pattern, perhaps you can't see it, and perhaps that counselor or psychologist can help you see that pattern that's happening.
Mhm.
And sometimes we'll attach to people and things. And so let's make sure that we can get that reconciled before we jump into that next relationship because some of us don't want to
Yeah,
be alone. You always hear, "I don't want to be alone." Okay,
Yeah.
I get being isolated, but just having a body next to you is not safe. It's not safe on no level.
that's right. So, Yvonne, what word of encouragement would you give to a woman who's kind of going through a divorce right now, and she's in the process, she hadn't gotten to where you are? What would you say to her? Just a word of encouragement.
Well, I would say, first of all, love yourself. Love yourself. Because as women, we love everybody else first. We love our families, we love our children, and we don't give ourselves proper love. So know that you are worthy, know that God loves you. Like I said, even though you're going through, love yourself. Whether, Pastor talks about that as well. Take yourself to dinner. Get your nails done. Make you look good. Look good for yourself. So love
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Um, and just keep praying and just ask God to show you, and He will definitely do that.
That's right. And Kim, any words of encouragement to a woman going through a breakup right now or trying to move forward?
Well, like Yvonne said, love yourself, but also you have to understand that you are enough. I make sure I let myself know every morning I am enough. I am enough for any and everybody. I am enough for everything. I have enough courage, strength, and wisdom to conquer whatever is put in front of me. And this relationship too these feelings too will pass just like their relationship.
I'm laughing at how you laughed when you said that.
No,
I felt
because
like a snap
I
was
know it
needed
sounds
after
funny,
that
but
victory.
it's the truth. I have
It
to know that
is.
I'm enough. And
That's
so
right. That's right.
mhm.
That's right. It just sounded like you needed a head bob and a snap with it when you said it. You know what? I love it though. Pastor Cross, any encouragement to anyone going through a breakup from your professional experience? Your take
Yeah,
on it.
Kim always blesses me. She blesses me. um, yeah, just again, it's okay to feel how you're feeling, though. It's a loss. So it's
Mhm.
okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel sad and to even feel rejected because it could have been a rejection in there. So feel those
Mhm.
feelings, name them all, have them, and then give them a decent burial when you can to release them. I don't even want to say bury because that means repressing, but release them when you can. Release those feelings. And I love when Kim said, affirming yourself. So guess what? I am cute. I'm fine. I'm smart. I'm intelligent. I'm the head and not the tail. I'm fearfully
Mhm.
and wonderfully made. And the word says that my soul knows right well. I praise you for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and that my soul knows right well. So if that did some damage to your soul, take time to heal with that. And that's
Mm.
okay. So that you get back to that point where oh, I'm fine. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. It doesn't matter what you did. I'm still fearfully and wonderfully made. There's still a plan for me after
Yeah,
this. Still a plan for me after this. And so
that's right.
that was just a lesson, ladies. Take that as a
Mhm.
lesson. We like to call it an L, but that L can mean a lesson. Take that lesson, not just the L for
Mhm.
loss or whatever you lose. You didn't lose. That was a lesson. In any relationship I've been in, I've gotten a lesson from them jokers. That's what I got. A lesson.
That's right.
Lesson.
Hmm.
So take it as a
That's
lesson. What was the lesson in there? And remember that and go forth into your next journey.
that's it. Go forth, daughters, in
Go
Jesus'
forth.
name. Go forth. Well, I appreciate you guys being on. We are out of time today. We had the lovely Yvonne Shelley, the spicy, beautiful Miss Kimberly Grayson, and the ever so consistent, just a wonderful, gorgeous person, Pastor Sharice Cross. Thank you so much, the three of you guys, for being on, and thank you for watching the Pink Table Talk. Tune in for more great topics for us by us. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Thank y'all. Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.